Everyone, Hemant this side. So today we will discuss on exception handling in Java. Okay, and this is our agenda for today's session. And here we will discuss in all those topics. So first of all, exceptions. Here we will discuss like what is exceptions, and also we will see different type of exceptions occur in our program or applications. Because basically we will see like exceptions are classes in Java, and all the exceptions in Java are nothing but we can say classes only. Okay, so the we will just discuss like all the exceptions of related exceptions classes over here. The second thing is exception handling. Here we will see what approach or process we follow to handle the exception. Okay, and also we will see like the flow of exceptions mechanism over here. Okay, in the third topic we will just discuss like types of exceptions. Here we will see the pictorial representation of all the exceptions mostly covered over here. Okay, and also type of exceptions mean how we categorize all the exceptions over here, like checked exceptions, unchecked exceptions, or error too. Okay, so later on we will just discuss on exception handling keyword. Exception handling is required to maintain the normal flow of the applications, and we have few keywords through which we can just handle our exceptions, and these keywords like try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. These keywords are basically to handle the exceptions. Okay, so our next topic is exceptions. Exception is basically we can say like it is an abnormal condition that occurs at runtime. For example, might be we are trying to access a file locations which reside in the drive, let's suppose, and unfortunately suppose file is not be there, so our program will be break at runtime and disrupt the normal flow. Okay, so we that's why I'm saying like that it is an event that disrupts or break the normal flow of the program. Okay, and one things we have already discussed like exception is nothing but a classes in Java. So we can say like in exceptions we are just basically use an object thrown at runtimes. It means we have just worked around this object and handle all the exceptions. And below are the example of all those exceptions like arithmetic exceptions, number format exceptions, array index out of bound exceptions, null pointer exception. All these exceptions are just classes in the Java. So here we can see like in arithmetic exception, for example, at runtime you are just trying to divide a particular number by 0. So at runtime you will just get an arithmetic exceptions. Okay, and for example you are just trying to convert an alphabetic value to numeric. Okay, so you will just get number format exception, and if you are trying to just go beyond the array index, so you will just get the array index out of bound exceptions. So same thing is here, you are just entering the null value of any particular string and you are just trying to get the length of that particular string, so it will just return the null pointer exception. Okay, so all these are the example of exceptions. So again we will see like what is exception handling. Okay, so as we discussed earlier, exception handling is required for the normal flow of the execution. If we don't want to break our code at the middle, so we need to handle the exception object. So exception handling is nothing but as a mechanism to handle runtime errors. And how we can handle these things, as we have discussed earlier that exception is basically object of any particular class, so we need to handle with the help of that particular exception object. And what is the requirement for exception handling, so that our normal flow of application be arranged, we can say it can be maintained. Okay, so each and every time when any exception arise, we need the exception object to handle it. Okay, so here you can just see like a pictorial representation for this. For example, like whenever you are just executing a program, let's suppose your program have thousands of codes in your applications. After executing few hundred of codes, let's suppose there is occur a problem in your program, so it means here an exception will occur. Whenever an application an exception will occur in your program, it creates an exception object. Okay, and it will just throw the exceptions. Okay, so these three scenarios will handled by our JVM. If you are not handling your exceptions in your application, so JVM will take care your exception handling. It means let's suppose after completing 100 line of codes, there is any of exception like number format exceptions. So after completing 100 line of code, JVM will see like, okay, here is number format exception, it will just generate an error message over there, exception message over there, and halt the program. So but you don't want to halt the program, you just want to the normal flow of the applications. So you will need to handle these exceptions over here. So that's why this section is the provide the mechanism with the we can say under the exception handling technologies. So these scenarios will come under the we can say like exception handling. Okay, now we will discuss on types of exceptions. Okay, so here uh, here we all know like the java.lang.object is the parent class for all the Java classes, but here we are just using throwable class as a parent. Throwable class is also we can say extending object class, but here we are as per the requirements or as per the picture, so that you can just clear cut idea regarding your exceptions classes. Okay, so throwable we can say it's a parent class, and it is divided in two different classes like exceptions and error, java.lang.exception classes, or we can java.lang.error classes. Okay, so under exceptions are further categorized, or we can say further divided into two sections like checked exceptions and runtime exception. It means we can say unchecked exception, it means compile time or runtime. Compile time exceptions are those exceptions which be caught by your JVM at compile time. Okay, and the runtime exceptions are those exceptions which are unchecked exceptions. It means it will not be checked by our JVM at compile time. It means all these exceptions will be just catch by our JVM at your runtime, like null pointer exception as we have discussed earlier, arithmetic exception, number format exception, index out of bound exception, and further exceptions can be possible over here. Okay, so these are the basic ideas over here regarding the exceptions. And the errors are basically we can say it cannot be recovered. Okay, and these errors are always unchecked. Okay, for example stack overflow error, virtual machine error, out of memory errors, all those. Okay, so these are the exception handling keywords like try block. Try block is basically contains the code that might throw an exception. Okay, so try block contains the code that might throw an exception, and try block must be followed by either catch block or finally or both. It means we can just either use catch block or finally. Okay, here we are just using try block with one single catch block. Under the try block basically the statement that may throw an exceptions. Okay, so under the try block it will enclose that particular code where there may be a chance for getting the exceptions. So we need to handle this exception under the catch block. Okay, error handling code. This one is the try with finally block. It means here we will just see the statement and this is the finally block. Okay, now the catch block. Catch block is basically used to handle the exception. Okay, and there must be a situation like this block must be used after the try block only. Okay, and a single try block can have multiple catch blocks, so that the control of execution is passed to corresponding catch block. Why I'm saying corresponding catch block? It means a single try block can use multiple catch blocks. It means if you are just enclosing few codes where the exception can arise, and under the catch block you are just handling all those things, so you must be aware that you should write the code in such a way that the generic exception must be at the end. Why I'm saying generic exceptions? It means whenever you will just write all the catch block, in the first catch block or initially catch blocks, you will just write the specific exception over there. You will not write the direct generic exceptions over there, otherwise you will get the compile time error. You can just see this code in a better way in the other screenshot like this one. Here I am using one example through which you can easily understand whatever we have just discussed earlier. Here in try block we are trying to divide a number by 0. So obviously we will get arithmetic exception, which I am specifically mentioned. Just after it, ignore the second exception. In our program we are not getting any exception related with this, and at the last we have used the most generic exception like exceptions class. So this should be the order. It means the specific exceptions like arithmetic exceptions should come first, and the generic exceptions like exceptions class, it should become at the last. It means when we compile this code it will execute properly, and the remaining code will execute after it. It means it will just generate the arithmetic exceptions over here, just execute these sections, and rest of the code is executed properly.
Okay, while in second example we mention the most generic exception at the first, and later we mention the specific exceptions like arithmetic exceptions. So that should be not be the order. It means we will just get the compile time error while we just put the more generic exception just first before your specific exceptions
at the end. Okay, now we will see the finally block. Finally block that is used to execute essential code like closing the database and closing the object and stream classes, all those things. Okay, and it will be executed regardless the exception is handled or not. Okay, it means it will be run. Finally block follows try or catch block, and for each try block it might be zero or multiple catch blocks, but there will be a single finally blocks over there. Okay, in few situations where we can see like intentionally if we are using the system.exit method or some other fatal errors, so in this situation it will not be executed. Yeah, finally block. Okay, now the throw keywords. The throw keywords here, here one question should be in our mind that if we have try and catch block already, then why we are using throw and throws. Okay, so here I have one good example for this. Like one situation we can say like I am working on any particular ATM application and I am trying to withdraw amount more than my current balance. So I want it should see the insufficient balance message. Okay, if I'm trying to get the amount more than my account balance. Okay, so I can continue, but I can continue to use this application again to change the amount or other things. I don't want to be my program should not halt in the between. Okay, so that's why I'm just using the throw keywords over here, because with the help of this I will just create my own exceptions classes, my own user defined exception on custom exceptions. Okay, so the throw keyword is used to explicitly throw an exception. We can throw any of the exception like checked or unchecked exception. This keyword is mainly used to throw user defined or custom exceptions. Okay, so you can just understand over here the user defined exception must be of type throwable or a subclass of throwable. We cannot throw multiple exceptions over here. Okay, with the help of throw keyword we can just throw a single exceptions only. Okay, and all the exceptions which we have already discussed, all those exceptions are just already given in the system, it means in the Java API. But the exception which we are just user defined exception, all those exceptions are need to be just extended by either your one of the classes of your throwable or other things. Okay,
so before seeing the example of custom exception, first we will see how we use throw keyword and how JVM work with throw keyword. Okay, here in this example we have enclosed few code inside the try block, and in this code we are trying to generate an arithmetic exceptions. Okay, just by divide any number by 0. So whenever any exceptions arise inside the try block, it is the responsibility of JVM to throw the exceptions and check whether their corresponding catch block with specific or generic exceptions class present over there or not. So here JVM will move to this catch block and print its own exceptions message like divide by 0, and rest of the code like these sections will be executed properly. Here in this side we are just throwing our own arithmetic exceptions class. It is just similar like this. Okay, so here whenever we are just throwing our own arithmetic exception class object, then whenever control comes here it will throw an exception of this particular arithmetic exceptions class and pass this message to its superclass and print this message, and then rest of the code executed properly like this. Here after seeing this example, one thing is noticeable. When inside the try block, if any exceptions occur, JVM automatically move to the corresponding catch block and handle the exception. Then why we use the throw concept over here? Okay, as we discussed earlier in one example, like if user wants to dispatch amount more than the available balance, then user should get the custom exceptions occur over there. Okay, so user should see the proper message and rest of the code executed properly. So here in these situations we don't know when the exceptions occur. It means after getting the more amount than the actual balance, user should see first the message, then user should able to change the amount, or just user can just perform the other actions. So in these situations user can just create their own exceptions class, on customized exception class, and whenever he just perform this type of actions, then automatically programmer just create an exceptions class objects, and we can say some customized exceptions class object, and throw the object of this. So here in this example I have created one user defined exceptions class like insufficient funds exceptions, and extend that class to exceptions class, and inside the class I have created one constructor in which we pass the user defined exception message. So here in try block our business logic will present over here. So whenever user try to dispatch amount more than the actual amount, it will throw the custom exception class object with this custom message like you have insufficient funds. It means user will get message like this and execute the rest of the code. Okay, so whenever in this try block, whenever any user wants to dispatch amount more than his actual amount, automatically it will generate the object of this class, and this message will pass, and user will see, or user will able to see this type of message in their screen, and in after it he or she just can change their way to just change the amount or just perform the other actions. Now we will discuss the throws keyword. So before describing throws keyword, let's discuss one example through which we can understand more clearly the use of throws keyword in Java. Just we can see this example. Okay, so here in this example I am just using buffer reader class, and in buffer reader class is basically used for get the input at runtime. Okay, so with the help of this, so let's suppose I am getting a number through readline method. Okay, through readline method of buffer class, and using parseInt method to convert this number to string to integer from string. Okay, there might be chance to get or read the inappropriate character like special character or another thing and convert into integer. So automatically at compile time JVM recognize that in this line there might be chance of any exception and suspect this exception. So JVM provides few quick fixes available over here. We can just see like add throws declaration, either we can just use this or concept or this concept or this concept. Okay, so here I just mentioned like this commenting this code, whenever I will just click on this add throws declaration, then automatically it will just properly edit few exceptions classes over here. Okay, so here with the help of throws we just suppress the error or exceptions. Also we can suppress multiple exceptions through throws keywords. Okay, so here now might be we are just understand mode whatever we are thinking. So the throws keyword is used to declare an exceptions, and we can declare multiple exceptions through throws keywords as we have see over here. Okay, the throws keyword is used in method declaration basically, and it declares that your method can throw an exceptions, and when we use throw keyword JVM take care of exception object, while in throws it is the responsibility of caller method to handle exception. We will just see this in our next example. Here we are not handling the error, we are just suppressing the errors. In Java we should recommend try catch block to handle the exception in place of throws keywords. Okay, here one more example, like we are read a file like this. Here you can just see like we are read a file, and there might be a chance of unavailability of this file at this location at runtime. So there might be chance to get the exceptions. So here we have two options like add throws declarations, or either we have to surround with try catch block. Okay, so in this way we are just using the solution of this. So here this is basically main is basically calling methods, and this is display file is the caller methods. So we have two ways, either with the help of try catch block or throws keywords. So here I am just reading this file, and might be there may be chance that file is not present over there, so we need to suppress this exceptions with the help of throws file not found exception. The same error will occur over here. So here I am just handling this scenario with the help of try catch block. I have just put the suspected code over here under the try, and whenever the error will come over here, so it will just move on the catch block, and the exception will be handled over here, and the rest of code is executed properly. You just see the output of this program, like java.io file not found exception, might be this file is not be over here, okay, and the rest of the code executed properly. Thank you.